It's going to be a rough one. Hey, everybody, welcome to Paranormal Into the Night. Remembering Art Bell, we are doing Ghost to Ghost 1995. What's going on?
I don't know.
Okay. Listen, Dave's got a hurricane going on over there as we speak. So, things are rough all over. Anyways, Sea Crane Company, Dave Plouffe. I like that. I just
Absolutely.
noticed
Love
that.
the Sea Crane Company.
Oh God, did they have great gadgets or what?
They
Anyways,
do. They're still in business, by the way. They've got a great website and they're still offering that free catalog.
are they really all these years later?
Yeah.
Why not? I mean, they come up with some good stuff. I mean, anyways, welcome to Paranormal Into the Night. Remembering Art Bell, the classic Art Bell, Coast to Coast AM, not George Norrie. This is live, not Memorexed. I'm not even sure why that was asked, but WWM, what's going on? Happy Sunday evening, all. Stay safe, Dave. Yes, he's got 1,000-mile-an-hour winds outside his home right now, but it's built of 4-foot thick stone, right?
Bricks.
Bricks. Okay,
Bricks.
yeah.
Yeah. The stones are in the garden.
That's right. That's right. The 4-foot, because you got big flowers. Yeah, you use that Miracle Grow is what you do.
That's a whole story.
Exactly. Did I say hi to Dave Plouffe? Plouffe is French. Hi. The paranormal gardener, the professor. He's a very busy man right now. School has started, I think, right, Dave?
Tomorrow.
Oh, okay. So it hasn't started. So I lied. Anyways, I'm also Johnny Ryder tonight. No, I'm not. But hopefully you guys are getting a chance to check out Johnny, The Adventures of Johnny Ryder, Detective. The third episode just aired. Looks like people are starting to get some interest in it. So, there's that. Hey, Becca Too Tall. Hey, Connie, what's going on? Black Roses, JLR, WWM, J.O.B. WTF, Kevin Muser. And let's get into, I don't even know what's going on tonight, Dave. It's a weird night. CM, what's going on? How's it hanging? Nothing's hanging, right, CM? What is wrong with me? Jeez. I need to just zip it and let Dave go. So yes, we're going to talk about ghost stories tonight. 1995, as far as the ghost to ghosts go. So, there's Bo.
There's Bo. Everybody. She didn't get a garden video this week because of the hurricane. So she is lacking in attention.
Oh, that's a shame. No garden video this week for Dave. Man. I was looking all over for it too, and I didn't see any links anywhere.
I'm thinking about doing something just in front like this, but we'll see.
CM Dino. I know. I'm sorry, CM.
Hi, Kathy.
Hey, Kathy. Big hugs to you. What's going on? Okay, so let's get into this. Listen, it's going to be an interesting show. No matter what kind of silly antics I'm doing here, I don't even know what I'm doing, to tell you the truth. Dave's getting he's a calm guy. He's just letting me do my thing, no matter how ridiculous it is. I guess
it's from being a teacher.
Let the students do what they may. I've had enough of it. I've seen it all. I've heard it all.
They keep coming up with new stuff, but I think this semester I start off with just under 800 students. So
wow.
You just have to be kind of relaxed and everything.
Yeah. Good for you. Good for you. I still use Sangene radio that looks exactly like the one Sea Crane's radios through, though I never use the weather feature. They've listened. If you want a radio, that's the place to go. 1995 Ghost to Ghost, Spirit in the Sky, Becca Too Tall. Yep. Okay, so let's get to it. Let's start talking because this episode, he talks a little bit more about we still don't get the Ouija story, but we hear a lot more talk about it in this year. And I think it was because the year prior, he promised, remember the caller that said, Art, you promised that you would talk about the Ouija story this year. And that's when Art said, I'm not going to talk about it. But anyways.
Yeah. And a lot of callers this year had Ouija stories.
Yeah.
Overall, I think some of these calls are the best ones.
Yeah.
And definitely among the most memorable in the
Oh,
history of Ghost to Ghost.
oh, nobody was hearing us, were they? I don't think so. Okay. Anyways, oh, that's OBS that would be doing that. Oh, so Restream doesn't do that. Thank you, because I had the audio on the stream, but it didn't go off until I just now clicked it. Anyways, continuing on. Hey, sweet Indigo 45, the Hermit. Hello, Dino and Dave, east and west of the Rockies. Yes, yes. I didn't put mine up there. I should have. Roswell's CM. Yes, yes. I agree with you, Dave. A couple stories in this year that stand out more than other years. Like there's a specific story that we'll get into soon that for some reason just stood with me for all these years, that like it was yesterday.
Okay. Well, why don't we start off with that one?
Okay.
If you'd like.
Yeah, we might as well. I will say that the information we did get that I don't think he talked about with the Ouija board story that he never will tell. He did mention how he got the Ouija board, though.
Yes.
And I don't think he did prior to this Ghost to Ghost. And basically it was, I think, a witch that called them. Was it a
right?
witch?
Yeah. So this caller said that she was a witch and she knew things about art that basically made him really uneasy.
Yes.
And she was going to go ahead and leave.
He bleeped them out because he didn't want anybody to hear it. So yeah, go ahead.
And so she's going to drop off at the radio station a gift. And the gift was a Ouija board. And again, in quotes, it was ancient.
Ancient. Yes. I wish he would have even elaborated a bit on that. What do you mean by ancient? Was it wooden? I mean, it had to have been a wooden.
That's what I was envisioning.
Yeah. But describe it a little bit more. But he did just don't want to talk about it. Don't want to talk about it.
But he did give us a warning. Do not play with Ouija boards.
He did. Hey, Overkill with an O. What is going on? Sears James, good to see you guys. Witchboard 3, The Possession, came out in 1995. It has a Ouija board. Yeah, that's true. Very true. And we also got the Bigfoot sound he played at the beginning of this. And there were a couple Bigfoot stories thrown into this Ghost to Ghost.
Some great Bigfoot stories.
Yeah. Usually he doesn't let people talk about that in Ghost to Ghost, but he does in this episode. So anyways, the story I did want to start off with, Dave.
And before we move on from Ouija boards.
Yes.
Right by your left arm is that a Ouija candle?
Oh yes, right here.
Yeah.
I like that when I actually play with my ancient Ouija board that somebody mailed to me 3 years ago, and I don't want to talk about it, Dave.
All right.
I'm sorry. That's just one thing I'm just not going to bring up anymore. But the candle, yet. Whatever, Art Bell. Damn you. But yeah, that's my Ouija candle. Anyways, hey, Marina Pilato, what's going on? Good to see you. Hey. The Bigfoot video from 2015 in Mississippi has resurfaced. It was taken by Josh Highcliffe. Check it out. Will do, CM. The 2015 Bigfoot footage. Okay. I just wrote that down so we can bring that up in a later date. When we get Linda on, Linda Moulton Howe, we'll have her look into that. I'll get a hold of her and anyways. Okay. So the first story that I wanted to touch on was the story about, where's it at? Oh my God, I'm lost. Hold on, Dave. I'm going to find it. I promise. Did you know about that Bigfoot footage that she's talking about?
No, it's the first time I've heard of it. So I can't wait. I wrote it down as well.
Okay. Okay, women with I can't believe I can't find it. What is wrong with me? Okay, here we go. The Reno Uh, living in grown little girl. So David wants to see room now. Okay, this is the David story. Okay, so I am so sorry, people, but I'm trying to get the right story here. Okay, so this is the story where the little girl, a woman calls in, and
Yeah.
she's from Reno. It's about a guy living in Guam. Um, he went to a rosary, which is basically I don't know religion, but I guess you go there to pray for your dead, loved ones or whoever. You know what I mean? And the family went, and this 13-year-old little girl, the sister of David, who is the one they're praying for. See, eventually I got it out, Dave. The story eventually comes around. So the story goes that David is the guy who died, and his little sister is 13 years old. I didn't catch her name, but it really doesn't matter in the story. But she shows up with the family at this rosary, and she says, "Look it, there's David. Look it. Do you guys see him over there?" And she just keeps pointing it out. And meanwhile, the sister, the mother, they're all crying. They're just very emotional, and they're kind of getting upset and mad at the little girl the way this guy is uh, reporting the incident. And the poor girl keeps saying, "David's over there. He's I guess really trying to get her attention." She said, just trying to get her attention. And eventually, she said it enough times that they kind of cave and listen to her. And she says that they need to go back to the house, his house.
Well, they're in the house already, but it's
Oh,
coming
are they in the house
into,
already?
yeah, they want
Okay.
them to go into his room.
Okay, yes, there you go. I didn't know. I thought that the rosary then was at the house.
Yes.
Okay, so I got that totally wrong. All these years, it stood out for me that much that I got it wrong, Dave. But the story itself stands out because if this doesn't prove that there's something going on after death, then I don't know what does. Because this girl is 13 years old. She's a young girl. She's pointing it out. They're at the house. Okay, that makes a lot more sense, Dave. She says he's pointing to the room because they finally say, well, okay, what's going, and she says he wants us to go in the room. So they go in his bedroom, and she points to the cabinets, these cupboards that are above the bed. And I know that the guy said him and another person tried to get it open the best they could, wouldn't budge. And she said, well, he wants me to open it. And she goes up there and it opens right up. So whether he was pushing it and forcing it to stay closed, who knows? But she opens it up, and they find out that there's all kinds of like little trinkets in there and pictures and stuff like that, little personal items that he would have kept up there. And they pull out a little letter it basically says, it's basically for his little sister to read if anything were to happen to him. I don't know the story behind that. If there were, why would he make a letter like this? Evidently, he was concerned. So there was the letter, and it was for the little girl. So he came back after death, hung around, and made sure that the little girl got this letter. All I know is this story has stuck with me over the years. I didn't get the rosary part and where they were. I thought rosary was like a place they went to or something, but you can have a rosary anywhere, I guess. But great story, right, Dave? I mean,
it is a terrific story. It's one of my favorites, and it brings up a lot of questions as to, when you're younger, are you more open to seeing ghosts? Is this something that we lose as we get older?
oh yeah.
For me, it's something that I think the very beginning of life and the very end of life are inexplicably tied together, where I think before you pass away, you're able to see the other side. And as you are very, very young, you are able also to have these encounters that
Yep.
today you and I wouldn't be able to.
Yeah. Well, unless there were other circumstances that led us to being open to that, like,
Yeah.
people who have near-death experiences or just are naturally gifted and sometimes passed down from generation to generation. But yeah, there's something about when you're very, very young that you stay connected to that other side, and again, right when you're ready to pass and you're getting closer to death, is when you start to connect back up with whatever it is, the energy on that other side, dimension, whatever it is that we go to. But yeah, listen, most of my experiences happened when I was like my grandparents. What was that? Like between the ages of like when I could first remember, like 4, somewhere around there, to like 8, 9 years old, somewhere roughly around that, time period. And slowly, you start doing other things in life and it slowly fades away. So yeah, I mean, when you hear stories like that, Dave, I mean, it's just, again, it's the one thing that hits the hardest because, again, we're trying to figure this all out, and these stories lend a lot of credence to all of that. So yeah.
Yeah. I will still tell you, having watched your video about the stories of your grandparents' house, I'm still scared about the guy standing in front of the bathroom.
That's the story that gets you the most, huh? Yeah.
That's the one that does for me, because I wouldn't be able to go to the bathroom again for probably a year.
Well, I'll tell you, I mean, during that period of time, it was tough when the lights were out to go down that hall to the bathroom. I mean, the lights at the bottom of the steps, you can flick the lights on going up to the steps. So that would get flicked on. Then when I reached the top of the steps, there was another light switch that lit the hallway going to the bathroom. So that would go on. So I was careful. And then making sure brothers were around. But if I ever went up, I hit every light as I went up. What are you going to do? Parents say, you gotta go to the bathroom, go to the bathroom. What are you telling me for? I mean, I don't know. That stream was cut right off. Becca Too Tall. Wait, what's going on? When I was younger, I'd look.
Never mind. Becca was making a joke about the stream.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Night Fright Talk Show. What's going on? Overkill. Oh, I love that you guys are kind of throwing in your stories too here, I guess. Overkill. My step grandmother would see her relative visiting her days before she died. In typical German fashion, they were asking her why she was running late. Okay. Is that a joke or did that really happen?
Well, I'll tell you, the same thing happened to my grandmother, who's also German.
Yeah.
And when she was dying and in hospice, she said that there were people starting to appear around her bed. And each day that they would get clearer and clearer so she could recognize them.
Okay. Nice.
And,
very interesting. Yeah.
Just very weird.
And I'll tell you, J.O.B. If that's a joke on the stories that I told, listen, my stories, I to this day, I will say they 100% happen. I don't know what to tell you. Stories that are hard to hear and that sound make-believe, you know what I mean? Unless you actually experience it, you'd be like, what a bunch of bullcrap, you know what I mean? But listen, it happened, man. I don't know what more to tell you, but again, yeah, shadow people. Oh, jeez, that was spooky, Dave. But anyways, man, Dave, I hope she made a mean German potato salad. That stuff is killer. Okay, anyways, go ahead with if you got something. I know they also started off with this stupid young kid. Listen, I think this was a stupid joke. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. A bunch of us guys got together and started smoking. I mean,
okay, that was lame.
That was very lame.
You can just see these guys hanging out, smoking, and they're blowing the smoke up into the air. And they said that this face materialized, and
not only did it materialize, Dave, but what did it do?
It smiled at him.
It smiled at him on the way up.
I wrote down Art's quote on this. He goes, well, better than a frown.
Exactly. Now, listen, there are stories you can listen to and just smell the BS straight through them. And I think that was one of them. He just got through and he had this simple, stupid little story. I mean, come on. Your story starts out with a bunch of my friends and us. We got together and we smoking in the basement. So we started to smoke. The way he said it was so ignorant. Anyways,
Yeah.
Dave, let's move on.
But also, with the 95 Ghost to Ghost, you could hear all the old commercials. And one of the things that he also mentioned was that he had this web service that would give you a photograph of a real ghost. And he's all like, if you have a computer and a modem, and I hadn't thought of a modem in years.
Yeah.
And he talks about his bulletin board service, and you can get a picture of a real, ghost.
Yeah.
There was also earlier on a Ouija story of this guy, and he starts off first talking about the Bigfoot sound because his wife is 8 3/4 months pregnant, and
8 3/4 months pregnant. Yeah,
and he's
about ready to give birth. Yeah.
Yep. So he's all, don't play that again. We may be having a kid tonight. But he's all like, when I was a kid, my brothers and sisters, and we decided to call up Satan from, after we started trying to call George Washington and people like that. And he goes, all of a sudden the doors blew shut and the lights went out.
Yeah.
And when we were able to flip the lights on, underneath the light, there was this image of a trident in the carpet below.
Yeah, that was a good story. That was a good story. Yeah, I guess J.O.B. that was he really did look out the window for shadow figures. Listen, not just outside, just go to your local cemetery. Or wherever. WTF, I hate when that happens. Yeah, that was a very good story too, Dave. I think the other really interesting story too that he talked about was Blood Alley, which I didn't. It kind of brought back memories. I didn't really. It's in San Jose, California. It's called Blood Alley. It's one of those spots across the country where lots of accidents happen and things happen and you see things on the highway. It's a stretch of highway. I poked it with a stick and everything. So you guys, man. She's going to have the baby on the Day of the Dead. Oh, boy. Okay. So in 1951, okay, they were going to the movie theaters, yada, yada, yada. They get in the car. And this person,
not just a person.
Okay, go ahead.
His name is Norbert.
Norbert, that's right. I didn't write it down. Thanks, Dave. Norbert. Norbert gets in the car and starts to drive. Norbert, why didn't I write it down? Norbert, and he starts driving down the stretch of highway Blood Alley, which they call it, and he sees this white lady. Your typical ghost story where there's a white lady in a gown on the side of the road, it's blowing in the wind, and was that nice, Dave? Did you?
I was kind of looking around.
Oh, okay.
Didn't know who that, what that sound was coming from.
You thought it was the hurricane outside. Yeah. As we do this, Dave is sitting through a hurricane. So if the power goes off,
and as Becca mentioned, and Connie also, we also had an earthquake today, 5.1. So we're rocking and rolling here too. So,
man, go take pictures of your garden, like the aftermath.
We will rebuild.
Yeah, please do that though. It'll bring in tons of views. The aftermath of the garden. Something. Come up with something really shifty. You know what I mean? Shifty. I used to go to the library and rent the cassette tape. Okay. Anyways, back to it. Norbert driving along the road sees this hot chick on the side. I mean, this white figure of a woman, floating down the side of the highway, and it is a highway, but it's also called. No, that's a different story. Route something. Anyways, there's a couple road stories in this one. This one. You guys get Goofy Dino tonight. So listen, I'm not taking anything.
I was actually going to add, when your name is Norbert, all the girls are hot.
That's true, right? Yeah. For
But
Norbert.
yeah, she's on the side of the road. She's dressed in white, and he
Yeah.
passes her by.
But he's going like
but
he's going like 45 miles an hour on this highway. You think he's been drinking a little, Dave? Perhaps staying safe and going 45 down this highway.
10 and 2.
Yeah, so he passes her up 10 and 2. I'm always at like 6 with 2 fingers. Not the best way to drive, but when you get good at it, Dave, you just have one finger going like this. I mean, anyways, he passes her up. And he knew immediately, it's a white figure. You could tell it's a ghostly figure. He's kind of freaked out a little bit. And as he passes up, he looks in the rearview mirror, and farther it gets, the farther it gets, and then there comes a point where he's looking in the back, and all of a sudden he's still going 45 miles an hour, but yet she's not going any farther. So they're like going at the same speed, you know what I mean? And then he starts freaking out a little bit, and this thing starts speeding up and getting closer. So he speeds up. He's going 50, 55. He's really, I hope the cops weren't around, but yeah, he's really pushing the pedal, Dave.
Well, I've got him up to 70.
Oh, did he say 70?
Yeah.
Okay.
70.
Something's
breaking all the land speed records.
He shot out the parachute in the back of his vehicle as they're going on the turf.
Yeah, it was 1951.
That's true. That's true. But the thing is, okay, so here, let me get serious about this for a minute. She's coming up faster and faster as he's going quicker and quicker, in his speed. And make a long story short, this thing flies up to the back of the car and then comes around. As he looks, it's at the side of the vehicle, and he's going roughly, evidently, Dave.
Skeleton.
70.
It's a skeleton.
Listen, Dave, this is what I want to talk about. This will be this will be what we're kind of sticking to, and this is what the conversation will lead into here: the skeleton and the straw hair. Me and you will talk about this in a second. But he looks over, and this thing's flying, he sees the skeleton face. It's all bones and straw hair. There you go. And he just speeds, and eventually, then it's gone, and that's when I'd like to ask you, Dave, what do you think? I have an idea on it, but why a skeleton? I mean, is this guy telling the truth? Did he really see something that looked like a skeleton's face? Why would, even if a spirit came back, why is it, first of all, going after his car? I mean, I could see it if it's whatever. Dave, go ahead. Take it away.
All right. Okay. A couple of things on this, which is it's why, to me, this is one of the more absurd calls or stories on this episode. Number one, it's a good ghost story.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I can't help but think of a 1951 vehicle with an antenna on the back of the trunk, and it got caught with a sheet or something like that from road debris, and he's just looking back and he thinks it's a ghost when it's really something caught on the antenna of the car.
Oh gosh.
But I love Art's quote is he takes it very seriously, as Art always does. He says, "These things change your life forever."
Yes. And this is my take on this, Dave, getting serious again here. I get what you're saying. It could possibly be that the guy that whoever called and just made this up. Who knows? We don't know. But why do people see things that look the way they do? Like this skeleton face. I mean, say he really experienced this, and it showed its form as a skeleton, straw hair, something that he would have heard in fairy tales or seen on TV or a movie, something like that. You know what I mean? So I think if there are on that blood alley, that stretch of highway, there are spirits or energy that kind of form, the spirit if something is lingering behind. I think somehow when we get spooked or scared, if there's a way that this energy manifests itself to look the way we perceive things to be scary. You know what I mean?
Well, I think also building on that,
Mhm.
it is like your new game that you want to start playing,
Yes,
where you're going to have these like ink blots or whatever.
yeah.
What do you guys see in this? And I think it's very, and I think the term is gestalt, is where our brain tries to make it into something that we recognize or that is, you know, like clouds look like a horse or a
Yes.
person or whatever. We try to give that meaning. And I think if this guy looked over and saw this white, and who knows, maybe his head gasket had blown and he was blowing out white smoke, right? But
Yeah.
he's like looking into it, like the guys earlier smoking in the basement, it smiled, and I think a lot of that is just our brain trying to make sense of something.
Well, wait, the wrong one. Thank you, Marina. Yeah, a little too much laughing gas or whatever he gave me. I don't know. No, Dennis. This is just me. What did Siri say? Projectionism, if that's a word. Well, Dave said it very well because he's an art professor and he knows what he's talking about when it comes to imagery and stuff like that. But yes, I think the fight or flight kind of thing, your mind tries to make sense of what it's seeing. So if you're in the midst of panicking, even, you know what I mean, as you're driving down the stretch of road, something like that could possibly happen. So I thought it was a very good story. It was unique, and until you get to that point in the story, and then it sounds like a Disney Halloween special or something like that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
again, I think our explanations of what could possibly happen in those situations, it could possibly be what really does happen. So, anyways, next story for Dave. Yeah, here we go.
We're going to go to Vancouver for this one. We're going to talk to Doug, who says that his story is almost a ghost story. And Art had a great retort. He said, that's like being almost pregnant. It is either is a ghost story or it isn't. But it is another one of the Ouija stories. And he said that when they were trying to summon things, that he summoned something negative. Quote, was higher up than normal.
It was
told them to turn the lights off,
Yeah.
and that's exactly what they did. And then you started seeing this light glowing in the room.
Yes. And I don't think there was much more to it than that, really.
Then they started doing, saying, it freaked them out. They started saying prayers of protection, things like that.
Yeah. That was and it's funny because that's a story that it's funny which ones stick with you, right? That one kind of stuck with me too, maybe because it was so close to some of these other stories. In 1995, maybe I listened just a little more intently than other years. Who knows?
But let me tell you something also. All the Ouija stories, Art says, would you do this again? Would you do this again? And everyone says no. There's never been a positive Ouija story.
Well, because the people calling are the ones that had the negative. Well, I mean, I guess that's not true. I mean, people call in with very positive ghost stories, so that involve loved ones, or there's something behind it. So yeah, I don't know what to make of it. I mean, I can tell you that I've talked about my Ouija experience and the thing me and my brother did with the Ouija board back in the day, and I mean, I guess it's 50-50. I mean, a part of it scared the crap out of us, but a part of it I look at as it really didn't do anything to us or nothing. But, we did stop right when it started getting a little creepy. So I, I don't know. Nothing happened afterwards or nothing like that. You heard my story about my Ouija story, right, Dave? Yeah.
I
Okay.
did. But I will I will say that Art also made a great comment. He goes, you never know what you're going to summon from the other side. It may be an unwelcome in-law that may not want to leave.
Oh boy, that's what. Yes, Dave. I mean, Art Bell. Art Bell would always say things the way he would just. He was an open book. He didn't care what he said. Okay, so the next one I wanted to go into, and I kind of forget the very beginning on how he talked about this. You can interject if you want, but something about a man and a woman. There was a guy called in, him and his woman or whatever, but she was still married to this other guy, right? Do you remember this one? And the guy came to his place, I think, kind of very angry or something like that, about the situation or something like that. And the guy,
Is this where he
go ahead.
goes into convulsions?
Yeah. The guy goes
Okay.
into like, did I kind of get that right at the beginning?
I think so. I do remember
Okay.
that. Like it was some weird, like this is my
Situation.
ex, but it's still married here, and I'm living with her. It was weird.
Yeah. I think I might have got up and walked around at the beginning of that story, but I know that the guy said he came over and he started to go in this kind of rage, like kind of like he was freaking out a little bit. And before he knew it, he started hollering at him, and then he flops on the ground, almost like he was in this kind of epileptic seizure of some sort. And that's what you would think. He said he even started to foam at the mouth and that kind of. But if you have an attack, I can't even talk today, Dave. Slow down, Dino. When you have an epileptic attack, you could foam at the mouth. So that is a thing. But he talked about when the guy was convulsing the way he was talking to him, but he was also hearing sounds of like multiple voices coming out of his mouth, which was very strange. And he did collapse after that. So that was the really strange part of the story. You don't hear different voices coming out of the mouth. Okay.
I do want to comment
Yeah.
on hearing the other voices. That's one of the things that scares me the most.
Okay.
Horror is very individual to the
Right.
person, and for me, it's hearing other voices coming out of
Somebody's.
out of you. So I do a lecture on Vincent van Gogh, and his brother, at the end of his life, had developed syphilis to such an extent that he was put into an asylum. Yeah. And when the attendants would walk by his room, they would say they would hear him arguing with himself in different voices in different languages.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I remember hearing something like that. But what would bring that? I mean, did he speak other languages? Do you know? I mean,
most people there did.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Vincent van Gogh himself spoke 5 different languages.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Makes sense then.
I mean, it's Europe.
Yeah. Killer Rabbit from Space, what's going on? Good to see you. But to finish out that story, was he fell on the floor and the guy ended up giving him CPR. Ambulance came, rushed him to the hospital, and he said the guy came back 4 a.m. later that night. They released him from the hospital. And he came back and, explained that, I don't know what happened, I don't, and they kind of, but that's kind of the gist of that story. And, it's kind of,
well, I think also for a while he was like destroying the guy's home. And when he got released from the hospital, it was like, look what the cops did. And the guy was like, the cops didn't do it. It was you. And he just had no recollection of that.
Yeah. Almost like he was possessed.
Yeah. He also, I guess, learned some background of this guy and that he had been in an orphanage in France. And his parents told them that told him that he was possessed.
Really? How did I
Which
miss that at the end? I didn't. Was okay.
it was at the very end.
Okay.
And it was, all I could think of was then Leslie Nielsen in the movie Repossessed.
Right.
And that made me laugh a
Yeah.
bit.
Well,
But yeah,
you hate hearing multiple voices coming out of the mouth or just different sounding voices because you wouldn't like giallo. Do you like dubbed films? It
no.
creeps you out a little bit because
No, because I grew up watching Godzilla.
okay. So
I don't like dubbed films at all. I'm like, why can't they get the voice next to the mouth? And God, it drove me nuts.
oh man. Oh boy. Okay. Gorilla. Okay, Godzilla is classic. And Dave's putting down Godzilla. But no, I know you do because you hate most sci-fi from the 50s and 60s. So Godzilla kind of fits right. Okay, anyways, yeah, you go ahead. Next story.
All right, we're going to go to the wild card line.
Oh,
1950s. This caller calls in, and his mom had a boyfriend in high school. And one day she's at her home and she's studying, and she gets a vision of this guy and finds out that he was killed in a car crash. And so it was a very, very short, very sweet type of ghost story, but also too, one of those things that is that energy is what I'm trying to say. Stays here on the planet, and it visits the people that it wants to visit, which I think is really intriguing, especially when you think about the great distances we are from one another. It just seems to happen simultaneously. And that's just, it's something I haven't really experienced per se, at a point of someone's death, but also, it was just a kind of a really good, compact, neat ghost story.
Yeah, no, exactly. And there are so many stories like that it's not even funny. And you said it very well, Dave, where a piece of or a little bit of the energy from or the essence of that person sticks around, and sometimes interacts with loved ones or whatever. It's very complicated, but a very common thing in the paranormal field. I don't think we know much about it. I think we know that it exists and it happens. But yeah, very, very, a lot of stories like that. Overkill 161, a $9.99 super chat. A Ouija board is the cosmic equivalent of leaving your front door open and asking anyone to come in and being upset that it wasn't George Washington. Great show as usual, fellas. Thank you, Overkill. I appreciate that. I would say this to that, though. As with anything, you use something as a tool to try to contact the other side or whatever. Any instrument, whether it's Ouija board or not. People put emphasis on Ouija board, I think, because of, the history, the horror movies that have been made around Ouija boards. But there's other instruments. You can even talk about dowsing rods and stuff like that. Anything that could open up a doorway to the other side, so to speak, can bring in evil. I think it's all about the intent, how you go about it. If you're really looking to open that door and just let anything in, then you might be asking for trouble, especially with a Ouija board or any other instrument you would use for that purpose. So I don't know. It's a back and forth with me on the Ouija board thing. I'm sure. Who knows? I think Dave might be just totally against it, just like Art Bell.
I did want to play with this. I don't know if you're gonna be able to hear it, but I'm gonna play you something from a voicemail. So
okay. Wow. Listen, live on the spot. What's going on here?
I just got home.
Were you able to hear that
Yes,
at all?
yes. You can play.
Okay, so it basically it was one of my friends saying he had just gotten home,
Okay.
and that was for some reason I kept that voicemail.
Oh, play it again
And
then before you tell the rest of the story. I
all
want to
right,
hear it
all
again
right.
because just so people feel the emotion of what you're going to say here, because I think I know what you're going to say. Okay.
Hi, David. This is Tommy. I just got home.
Okay.
So that's just
Yeah.
the beginning of it. But it's one of my close friends, and I'd worked for him when I was in high school and stayed friends all the way until his death when he was 91. And I had kept that voicemail, and I went to his funeral, and I just kind of wanted to hear his voice again, and I played that. And when he said, like, I'm home,
Yeah.
it was such an emotional type of a feeling
Mhm.
and stuff. And that, to me, that's the closest I've been able to get to that, energy
Yeah.
that of someone who has passed away.
Okay. Okay. So just that little connection that, yeah, no, I hear you there, Dave. WTF4 and stuff. I agreed, Dino. It's not that, let me see. It's not the tool that is important. There's never a need for actual tools and personal things if used. So Ouija board. Well, yeah, just like again, we will eventually get to the Father Malachi Martin shows, Dave. And I think just like the Ouija board, Father Malachi Martin, when we get to that show, he opened up a lot about people who are truly possessed. Same thing with the Ouija board. You're going to have things happen when people go through terrible things in their life or let the door open spiritually because they've hit such like rock bottom, whether it's through alcoholism or drug abuse or anything like that. There comes a point where your body is kind of like an empty vessel almost. Okay. So it can be taken over. I forget the exact quote. He said the purely possessed. What did he say, Dave? I don't know. When we get to the
I just know it was like pure evil
yeah,
exists.
yeah. And just in the same way we talk about Ouija boards, it depends on the individual person and all of those consequences and everything that they're dealing with in life. And pure evil could be from the weak. We'll talk about that when we get to Father Malachi Martin. Next
Yeah.
story for me, Dave, is I thought it was funny when it started off. Was it funny when I started to go through the story? Well, let me talk about it. But the woman calls up, and this is the woman who got so upset. I forget how she got upset. I think I got up and walked around too. But if you remember the beginning of the phone call, she got upset with either mother or somebody, and she went shopping. Well, she went shopping with her mother. So
When you get angry, you go shopping.
yeah, when you get angry, and Art Bell kept saying that. Listen, Art Bell was a bit of a male chauvinist. I love Art Bell and his show and everything so much, but yes, he was old school, male chauvinist or whatever you want to call it. And yeah, he's like these women. You get angry, you go shopping, right? And he tells it to him right on the phone. And she said, as they were going shopping, oh God, she was going down a corridor or somewhere. They were walking down somewhere, and as they something appeared. There was a very tall figure and I know I might be rushing through the story, Dave. I'm trying to say this the best I can, but there was a tall person and a short person, similar to Frankenstein, she said, in appearance. They
That was so weird.
It was weird.
It's just like, really, you're going to look like Frankenstein out there?
But she said they both had like hospital gowns on and gray skin. Okay. And pretty much she said she looked at them, and the tall fella Frankenstein went, oh. No, he went, fire. No, he put his head up Okay. And she said, to me, he was saying, I'm going to get you. I don't know where she got that from because she didn't say he spoke it. She said he put his head up and she got the feeling that I'm going to get you. And then they turned around and they just walked off.
Yeah.
So I don't know what to make of that. Just that it was an interesting story.
I didn't even think it was interesting.
No? Okay.
I call BS on this story.
Okay.
I think it was store security. Maybe they looked, I don't know, like they were going to shoplift something, giving them the evil eye. And that was it. I didn't really care for that story so much.
Okay. Okay. Well, it was worth mentioning, I guess. Or maybe not even worth mentioning. I don't know. Let's move on, Dave. Next story.
All right. And CM and Marina and Sears James, thank you for your comments.
Yeah. I see everything. I'm sorry, you guys. I'm skipping over a lot of this. When we get into talk with Art Bell, it's like you keep going, man. Keep going. But I'm looking at it.
I know, because we're almost at the top of the hour again. I mean, it's crazy, right? Like how fast this goes.
Oh my God, yes.
I actually want to kind of go out of order and talk about my favorite.
We're going to have to because there's a couple of good stories that, the next one I'm going out of order too because it's a really good story. But go ahead, Dave.
All right. So my favorite story is this guy who calls in from Austin, Texas, but it's a family story based in Louisiana. Whereas aunt and uncle.
Yes, this is the one I was just going to talk about. So yes,
let's go. Best story ever. And so right after the aunt and uncle got married, the aunt dies in her 20s, and the uncle, as you can imagine, is heartbroken, and it is, he loses the love of his life, and he is going to protect that corpse, and he orders this glass coffin, which I thought was really, really creepy.
Yeah, and it was going to take 6 months to arrive. So where does he keep her at?
Well, they've got it. They take her outside. They air out the corpse every day.
He leaves it up in a room, though.
No. Okay, so the corpse has its own room, but you have to take it outside every day to.
Right, yeah.
So they keep hearing the wheelbarrow that was used to move the corpse outside as a continual sound in this home.
Yeah, it's one of the ghostly voices that they hear during a lot of the activity and many more. But yeah, she was kept in a room. This is kind of psycho kind of thing, except it's not mother and son. It's more like husband and wife. And she was 21 years old when she passed. So they were only married a year. They still kind of just got over the newlywed phase. So, he was very, very attached to her and loved her very, very much. So, I see where he went a little batty here. And Dave, the wheelbarrow where they would take her out and air her out because this was late 1800s. So this was that time when they had servants and all that. So he made his servants do all of this and continue, Dave. Yeah.
Well, it was the servants were freaked out because he would go up and sit with the corpse. You would hear whispers through the door. You would hear conversations taking place. Of course, the cold spots, people later on would feel a presence, and even the person calling, who wouldn't really say much about who he was or his family, said that he would go with his mother to this house that is still in the family, and she would not go upstairs, and you would literally see her shaking. Yeah. There was also that they put once the coffin did get delivered and they buried her in a crypt because it is Louisiana. You don't bury people in the ground there. That there is still a keeper of the crypt that has the key. And I was going to ask you, I had put a note down here. Would you go in to see the glass coffin and the aunt?
Oh, God. Hello, Nathan Rita. Are you kidding me? Yes, of course I would.
I knew the answer, but
yes, no, I would be in there, and I would probably bring in a recorder. So yes, but yes, all these years later, there still is a keeper. Reminds you a little bit of Dark Shadows, right? The crypt, going into the family, crypt a bit. But yeah, the glass coffin. I would love to hear the story throughout the years between, like, what happened to that the husband. You know what I mean? Did he go nuts? Did he continue out his life? And he really didn't get into the guy that was telling the story of the family. I don't think he wanted to give too much away, because he started to call off saying, if they find out that I'm even telling this family story or secret, I'll be in trouble. But definitely one of the, I hate to say coolest stories, but because it's a sad story. But when it comes to horror, like this sounds like a movie.
It really does. Yeah.
And
the family was going to triangulate on his position.
Try.
Oh, different call.
To triangulate on my position right now, Harpo. No, listen. There's something very spooky, of course, about this story. It's in the sadness and everything, and I could just see him being so distraught and kind of connecting to that other side. If his wife's sticking around and the energy is so strong that they're still kind of going back and forth during all of this. And that's why after he does put her in the glass coffin, he doesn't keep her at the house. I don't think the family would have let him, but what did he visit quite often? Did they continue their conversations? Did she eventually just, stop communicating with him? But we won't know those answers, because, that's all that we got with the story. But a very good story, Dave. Yeah. Let's see. Art Bell was played in Canada as well. Well, yeah, he started off on a Canadian radio network, CBC radio network, in the early 90s. And so CBC kind of carried his until he went, pretty much worldwide. I mean, the guy will never be forgotten. The other one I'd like to talk about, that was the story of the night, I think, Dave. Though.
I agree. I put a star next to it. That's my favorite of the night.
Yeah, same here. Okay, so there was the other story, and this one did stick with me throughout all the years too. Again, I think 95, I don't know what was happening that year, but everything in this show kind of stuck with me.
Well, we shouldn't know, because it was 28 years ago.
Shush, Dave. Shush.
It just seems like yesterday.
I know. How's the weather out there, Dave?
It's still raining. I just looked out the window.
Well, that ain't going to stop for a while, but the house isn't blowing down or nothing.
No windstorm or thunder or anything like that.
Oh, good. Good. Okay.
Very happy.
So a woman calls in. She says, "Yep, I got a story for you, Art. This took place when I was 13 years old." And oh God, wait, hold on a second here. Okay, so there was a boy she liked. I think it was a dance she went to. I could be wrong, Dave. It was a dance. I don't know. Let's say it was a dance.
They went to two different schools.
Yeah, the boy and the girl, but she had a crush on him. And I think she went to the dance or something like that to see him. And it was night, and her and her friends decided to leave and run home. And when that happened, and it's funny because my grandmother had almost the same thing happen, Dave. This is so weird.
Oh.
But I'll say that after this. But she was 13 years old. Her friends left. They all started running through. And it was a cemetery that they were running through.
The reason they were running through it is they had a curfew.
Yes, the curfew.
They had to be home before curfew. And it's like, hey, we're going to, of course, every corner has, a cemetery we're going to cut through.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And because that was back in the day. It was probably the 50s that she was probably talking about, I would think, maybe. But anyways, she's running through the cemetery, and she ends up falling in a grave that has not had the coffin put in and buried yet. So she falls in, and like she said, she falls in, dirt falls all on her. freaking her out. She's got bugs all over her, the little termite
in her hair, termites.
yeah, in her hair and everything. Dave's like, termites, damn them bugs. Yeah, California, they're pretty bad there, aren't they, Dave?
Actually, yeah, they are.
Yeah, well, they're bad everywhere. What?
There's big as trucks out here.
Are they? Oh my God! But she's down in the grave, and she mentioned, she goes, I'm only 5'1". You know, I'm 13 years old. I couldn't reach up at the top of the grass, you know, to get out, and I couldn't. So she goes, and then all of a sudden she started feeling like pressure, like something on her feet. So the pressure, she said, something pushed her up high enough to be able to grab a hold and jump out of the grave, and took off running. So that's really kind of the story. Something intervened. Was there the spirit that was going to be laid to rest there, waiting to be? I mean, who knows? I don't know. What was it? A guardian angel? Was it? I mean, what was it? I don't know. Go ahead, Dave. You look like you want to say something.
Yeah. Well, first of all, my idea is the termites came from the rotted casket, right? So you got this casket in the ground, 6 feet down. It's been rotting for centuries. That's where the termites come from. And whatever is boosting her up. I actually, when I was listening to this story, I thought you were going to hear a story about her being dragged down, you know, and her friends trying to help her. But no, it's like this thing gave her this boost to get out of this 6 foot grave. And that was very freaky. I also had a note next to this story for you. What graveyard experiences have you had? Have you gone out in the middle of the night? Have you run through a graveyard? Do you have anything to share?
I kind of do. Yeah. Well, and to connect the dots with my grandmother, she actually ran through a graveyard too. They were playing a game like Ghost in a Graveyard. They actually did that. And they lived next to a cemetery, and she was a kid, and they were all running around hiding. And she went around the one grave marker, which was already up, and she fell into, just like this girl, a grave. And she was able to climb out, but she said she was so scared for like 5 minutes because she was hollering and hollering and hollering. And she has no idea to that day when she told me the story, why nobody heard her, because she was right next to somebody else that was, you know, next to her. They could have run off. I don't know. But she was in there, and she was screaming out of hysterics. She was scared to death, and, you know, scared stiff, as Dean Martin would say. Jerry, you're scared stiff. But she ended up getting out and running out, and but it just kind of the story. Anyways, my cemetery story wasn't so much a cemetery story as a graveyard, because there is a difference. Because this is the area I grew up in. There's a prominent family, I guess you can say. Boy, the things I could tell you about the village I grew up in, but anyway. Oh, it's like the olden days. Anyways, I won't get into that. I'll let your brains just
J.O.B. You need to put his thing on the
okay. So it was one of the birthdays. Me and my brothers all come over, and we all get together and we all do stuff. I'm the oldest of 7, so all of us, and this was when I was maybe in my 20s, something like that. We knew the family graveyard down over by the greenhouses. Okay, we're not supposed to go down there. You know, they make sure they tell you stay off this. You know, the families always say, stay off this. This is sacred ground. This is our family. And I get it. It is, you know what I mean? So I understand, but I was deep into Art Bell at this time. And I decided to go down there, and I decided to take a little microphone or a recorder with me. J.Odabita. Speaking of graveyards, one of my favorite Twilight Zone story was Night Call. Lady gets strange calls when the phone lines fell down in the graveyard. Yes, J.Odabita. A very good episode. The black and white version with Rod Sterling, or Rob Sterling, as Marina says. Here, I'll put that up. Love you, Marina. Anyways, okay, so we all go and we walk, and we're sneaking there, Dave, because there's houses sitting at the top of the hill, but about 500 feet down, there's the family graveyard. And let me tell you, that night was something else because the moon was high. It just lit the area up just enough to where it was spooky. And there were some that were just rocks in the ground, and I think I hit a couple, and I'm like, oh no, I shouldn't be doing this. And I even questioned as when we were down there, like, okay, maybe we should go back to guys, but we got to be quiet. And as we were, my brother kept saying, are you guys seeing what I'm seeing? Yeah, and my other brother said, yeah, I saw that too out of the corner of my eye. And they said I didn't see it, but let me tell you, something felt off when we were there. He kept seeing this white light that he said looked misty type, but it was white and it was like a light blinking. And when they would face on with it, it was gone. And they said they saw that a couple times. And then my brother said the same thing. And that's when my sister said, I'm out of here. And she took off. And that's when I said, hey, I think we better leave. But the time we spent down there, I definitely felt something. It felt so odd, so weird. And let me just tell you, it was one of those times when, with the moon out, where I was at, because this was trees, the old trees. Yes, that's my graveyard story.
That's a great story.
Yeah, a spooky one, man. The black and white version with Rob Sterling. My dad called it a show before its time. Exactly, Marina. Well said. Let's see. When you could smoke anything about it. Blame phone, LOL. I'm joking with ya. You're or ghost. Oh boy, and always learned growing up not to step on graves. I know, that's why I felt bad, and I was being careful. But when I hit the rock, I said, "Let's go. We're out of here." Because I think my brothers urged me on. They said, "Let's do it." Okay, Dave. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's all right. My next story is not a ghost story. It's a Bigfoot story.
Yeah.
My second favorite story is a group of guys hanging out on the weekend, going camping, and they're parked next to this river, and they're playing cards. It's 1975. They're in their early 20s, just gotten out of the service, and they hear some splashing in the river. They think it's a bear. But then they hear rocks kind of grinding together and being moved and being placed down next to their camper.
Yeah.
And so Art Bell also mentions that they did the right thing because they all hit the ground and hid basically on the bottom of this camper. Yeah. And the noise of these rocks and stuff being moved basically went on throughout the night until about an hour before daybreak. And they wake up, and these creatures, I'm guessing there's more than one, and I'm guessing it's Bigfoot, has set down all these rocks around the camper so the camper cannot be moved.
Oh, yes. And did they say they heard a howl too, similar to the Art Bell? Because Art Bell also played at the beginning of the show that Bigfoot.
Not just a howl, but a grunt.
Yeah, the grunts. Yeah. No, they were hearing it. All the activity, they heard them. Whoever they are, the Bigfoot, who knows who they are. But that leads us to the other that's the Bigfoot story. But there was the other, and you're going to say, nah, I don't even know why you're talking about this one. But the other three who went out camping, there was another camping story with Bigfoot. Oh, no. I'm sorry, I take that back. This was a ghost story.
Yes.
There's another camping story. Okay. I think there was another Bigfoot story. I'll let you say it if you remember it, but there was 3 more campers. They went out. It was a logging area. There was an opening where some woods have been cut down, and they 3 of them went camping, 2 guys and a girl, and I guess the one guy and the girl was boyfriend girlfriend. They went for a walk. I'm doing it quick because it's kind of BS, I think. But they end up coming back and they don't see their friend, and they're like, where? And they go to the vehicle and he's in the back seat. He's sitting in the car. He's scared, and he goes. They go like, oh, what happened? What happened? And he goes, well, out of nowhere came this robed figure, and he said, what they're doing is not right. And that's all. And in the back of my head, I'm like, I think the guy who's calling is just trying to make a point that it's bad to chop down trees in the forest. So to me, I think that's just what he was trying to make a point of. I don't know, because unless a robed figure really did come up and say, this is ridiculous, cutting down all these trees. Can somebody intervene here? Anyone? No.
Well, you never know when it's a hermit living in the woods. And I'm not a camping person. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah.
Why would you go 20 miles away from civilization? I
love the thought of it.
Yeah.
But like you, I don't know. Bugs. I can't get in a warm shower. I can't. So yeah, I agree with you a little bit. But I would love to go out there, sit out there all night long with people and just like UFO, looking for UFOs with like infrared and all this other stuff. But
that would be cool. I'd rather much more, like you go to a graveyard, cemetery, abandoned house, things like that.
Yeah.
But I can also go to Starbucks when I'm done as well.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you. Hermit living in the woods. Yeah, exactly.
The Unabomber. Yeah. That's a whole nother Art Bell show we could do.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't think I'm going to touch that subject. Even saying the word is probably not good. Crazy. Anyways.
My next favorite story is kind of a creepy one. It's this guy. He's a teenager. I thought he was older at first, but he said he was a teenager and he'd have these recurring dreams that he was riding in a Jeep out in the middle of nowhere. And when they came up and over this rise of this hill, that he goes, all I could see is the looks on our faces. And it was that of sheer terror. And so fast forward a couple of years and he's in the Salton Sea, which is outside of Palm Springs here. And they're driving down Telephone Road, where you have all the telephone lines. It's Route 66. And they come up and over this hill where they're starting to go up this hill. And the guy remembers the dream. And he starts freaking out and says, no, don't, pull over. We're going to not do this. And they don't. They turn around and I've always wondered what would have happened if we went over that hill.
Yeah, I remember that one too. That sticks out because it's like, what if? It's kind of like a what if story. You know what I mean? If he would have taken it a little bit further. Dino and Dave, Bigfoot wants to see clear video of you. What? Our video should be clear. Yeah, we're clear. It's your internet connection. I hate to say it, but I think so, Sam.
Well, I think Bigfoot is stuck with dial-up right now.
Well, and Killer Rabbit from Space says, is Sasquatch the same as Bigfoot? I mean, I hope that I'm not even answering that. Sorry, Killer Rabbit, but I think, no, I'll answer it because maybe you don't know, but that's common sense. You got Bigfoot, Sasquatch, the skunk ape, the people call some the hairy man. There's all the wild man. Every area on the globe has a different name. The Yowie, the Yeti. I'm not going to list off all the names, but they're all the same types of creatures. I don't know what more to say. We are it's 15 after, and I think we want to ask people what we want to do next week. Start thinking.
Why don't we do 2 more stories?
Okay.
And then we'll wrap it up with, or actually now's a good time to ask them because they can put it in the chat.
Yeah. Let us know. Oh, go ahead, Dave.
we decided to ask you guys what you would like us to cover for some of these weekly videos. So if you have any ideas, we have some ideas as well, obviously. But if there's something you want us to cover that we haven't really thought of, please put it into the chat.
Yes, please do. Yeah, specifically coming up here, we know what we want to do next week, I think, but we thought we'd ask you guys, and if something pops out to us, hey, that's not bad. We'll might do that. So if you have an idea, and it could be anything on movies or something paranormal or something horror or something, whatever, just let us know in the chat. It could be anything. Ed Stathis, good to see you.
Hi, Ed.
Yeah, say, yeah, Johnny Rocco, yeah. The wind's blowing here, huh? You'll never forget that when a hurricane hits, Dave. Johnny Rocco.
It should be 95 degrees here, and it's like 70 and really humid.
Wow. Anyways, okay, so another couple things, like there was the story of the woman, Edith, who talked about the phone. What's that?
Cass. Connie, I'm surprised didn't block that one.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Block Cass, please, everybody. Thank you. Yeah, there was one about Edith and I think her mother or something, but it really boils down to when the person that passed away loved flowers and the smell of flowers when they feel that their loved one is around. That was kind of the point of one of the stories. And you hear that a lot where they either smell of, like, smells play an important role in this energy that's left behind or whatever it is. I mean, when you can not only just bring back a part of you, and because if there's interaction, it's an intelligent haunting. If you're getting a response back that correlates to what you're asking it, you know that there's some intelligence there. So you got that, plus you get the actual physical touching at times, or scratching, or tugging on your clothing, but then you get smells too. Where the White House gets the smell of bread baking. Some family members get the smell of perfume. It's like she said, the caller that called in, like every birthday, I think, or was it the day of her death or the birthday? But one of those 2 days.
Yeah, it was the day of her death.
Day of her death. Thank you, Dave. She smells the flowers, and I think it was sweet pea was the plant, which I do love that as a plant. Yeah.
It was, she had one of the family members, I think her sister, also had passed away. And like the mother was sweet pea and the sister was carnations, and she could tell, who was who. And he also went on about saying that when like someone dies, you may have a tree or something like that the person was fond of, or would always just, like have swung underneath or something like that. The tree dies unexpectedly, and and there's this, again, kind of this energy or power that's linked to the two.
Right. Well, there was extensive research on even plants and trees and stuff where there is I won't get into that because it's far out research, but where electrodes were put to it, and they would respond to loud, obnoxious noise, and you would get this like kind of rapid kind of however they did it, and then the mellow stuff, you wouldn't get it so much. So even plants, if you believe, have some kind of spirit energy linked to them. And yeah, I can see that if you take care of a plant all your life and you love it. It's funny you say that, because there was a plant that was in the family of somebody on the other side of my family, and it was like 30 years they had this plant, and it just was lush and beautiful. And I forget the name of the type of plant, but it was lush. It was 30 years old, Dave. And the minute the grandfather passed away, it slowly started to die, and they were taking care of it. They said exactly the same way they did. We didn't overwater it. He specifically said once a week, that to make sure you don't overwater this plant and this thing. But it slowly died, and without nothing they could do about it. It is quite odd that would pair up like that. But yeah, that story was very interesting, definitely.
And I remember when my grandfather died, he would wear Old Spice. And I remember buying a bottle of Old Spice just because every few months I could take out the bottle, smell that scent, and it would remind me of him.
Okay, very cool. Yeah, I mean, there is. I think my grandfather too had a cologne that he wore. I don't know the name of it now, but I know when I would go over to see my uncle at times, I would smell that same smell, and yeah, it just the emotion and the flashbacks of everything that because I loved my grandparents. I mean, my grandfather was the funniest guy ever. I mean, anyways, Becca Tutal says more Sherlock Holmes film discussion, please, with Basil Rathbone and Nigel Bruce. The first stream was a bomb. Was bomb. It was a bomb. Also, you guys could do an Art Bell like anything goes or fact or fiction stream. Well, we were talking about that too, like doing a what was it? The fake or truth? What was it? That show he did is it fake or real? Like we'd tell a story, and you guys tell us if it's real or fake. But anyways, that might be too much work for us. But anyways, I don't know if did we get anything else?
There was just one last one that I'll cover, and that was took place on a college campus. This group of friends ran into this guy at a bookstore, and he invited them to, of course, a Ouija type of thing. The one girl couldn't go, so she stayed.
Oh, the witch, the black mass. Yeah,
went to a black mass.
Yeah.
So the one girl couldn't go because she had like finals the next day or some type of homework assignment. But she woke up in the middle of the night because the fire alarm went off, which was kind of weird. So they go outside, and she didn't see her friends come back quite yet. But as they were waiting to go back into the building, they did. And they looked like, white as sheets, and they looked like someone in shock. And then they went into the elevator, but she couldn't go in, and the elevator stalled between floors. That alone would freak me out. That's a horror movie.
Oh, yeah.
And then one of the friends didn't show up. And it also, I should say that these people were so freaked out by what they had experienced, they had to be sedated, and their parents came and picked them up from school, and they didn't come back to school, which was weird. And then one of the friends didn't show up, and the guy in the bookstore who had done the black mass was like, he will show up, but he's going to show up dead. And the college had a lake, and that's where they found his body with his throat cut and blood gone from his body. Very much like a Kolchak episode.
Yeah, just like a Kolchak series. Yeah, that sounds less ghostly and more just horrific from the criminal element or the cult activity that was going on, but still a very scary story.
It was very much a race with the devil type of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Listen, situations like that, man, like race with the devil or a deliverance. I mean, any of those type of
it's like you.
Oh my God, can you imagine? I mean, I if I knew, but see, sometimes you get caught, you're out of gas, the car breaks down. Sometimes you can't help the situation you're put in, and then you're just stuck with the cards you're dealt, which kind of suck. But I am not suggesting this in any way, in any fashion, but one of the ones that is actual horror, in my opinion, is Human Centipede. Never cover that. Yeah, Marina, I don't think
about that. We won't cover 1, 2, or 3.
No, I don't think I've never covered that on the channel and in the 7 years of horror movies, and I don't think I ever will cover it. But well, I'll say never. I won't say never because who the heck knows? I don't know. Baba Yaga, I'd love you to cover that. Why do Baba Yaga? Is that a Bigfoot type creature too? I'm guessing.
I have no idea.
Yeah, Marina. Well, what the heck is that? I mentioned this in fashion. Thank you guys.
A lot of
Yeah.
E's in that word.
Well, they also said Dark Shadows would be cool. The only thing with that is it's just so extensive that I don't know if we could possibly even cover the entire Dark Shadows library of stuff that's out there right now. But another Kolchak from one of the episodes is doable. But yeah, no, thank you guys. I think Russian folklore is something I think I wouldn't mind talking to Dave about, or horror and art. How about that?
There's some, actually, I have a wonderful book just over off camera here. It's called, The Art of Ugliness. And it goes into all the demons and witches and just all sorts of evil things in art. It's a great book.
I tell you what, I wouldn't mind covering something like that. That would probably make a really interesting show, honestly. But yes, we will talk about that, and it is the bottom of the hour, so going to get ready for the overnight stream tonight. Detective stream all night long. Got them all. That's all I'll say. Yes. And hopefully you guys go over and check out the third episode that streamed tonight of The Adventures of Johnny Ryder Detective. Check that out. And don't forget the horror one. It's being neglected, and it's actually the best story out of all of them, I think. The Eye Collector. Where the murder. Anyways, I won't say nothing. But go check that out. Creepy Chronicles. It's in the playlist under there. Go to the channel page. Give it some love, man.
One Sean Bond came in.
Hey, One Sean Bond, what's going on? Like, subscribe, and share. Love and peace, Dino and Dave. Thank you, One Sean. Much appreciated. And thanks to each and every one of you. Thank you, CM. Peace and blessings to you, too. Until next week. Yeah, we'll see you next week, me and Dave. Sunday, as always. And just keep up with the page. I'm not sure what I'm doing this week. I'm not sure if I'm doing a trivia night next Saturday. Haven't done one in a while, so I might do that. And skip caption this for a week, but who knows? Just to mix it up. Satemkia Falls says Baby Yaga is a Russian Slavic myth about a witch whose hut cottage moves around on chicken legs. Well, that's definitely Russian folklore. So not sure if a whole hour and a half on that, a cottage that moves around on chicken legs. Is there enough information for an hour and a half, Dave? But it could be worked in to different. Anyways, okay. What? You don't want to say it, right? Okay.
No.